Prostitution and Trafficking in Nevada. And I'm sure my lovely wife in the other room is going to be suppressing a chuckle. Making the Connections by Melissa Farley. This is from one of the darker corners of my library. And the picture on the cover of this is kind of important to what I'm going to discuss here. So take a look there. And what this was a study. Farley did a study of prostitution in Nevada, of just the social impact and good night. That's my child saying good night. And its implications for, and I honestly don't do this typically within earshot of my child is way across the house waving at me, so she's not listening to this very dark material. So this is a study of prostitution in Nevada and how it impacts the community at large and society at large. And very interesting study and really interesting. This is not a conspiracy book. This is not, crazy speculation about what prostitution may or may not do to society. This is just very blunt, going around interviewing the people working at brothels and all that. One of the interesting things that she talks about in here that surprised me was I did not realize that prostitution is illegal, completely illegal, in Las Vegas. So in Las Vegas proper, any prostitution that is occurring in Las Vegas is illegal. I did not know that. I thought that was all. I've been to Las Vegas and had stuff shoved in my face and didn't really realize that was all illegal. Now to the picture. This is a picture of one of the brothels there in out in rural Nevada. And the thing that she points out, the reason she used this picture was to show that these are barbed wire fences. These look like little mini concentration camps. That these are by far these are not pleasant, happy places. And they don't have barbed wire, as she pointed out so aptly here. They don't have barbed wire to keep the Johns out. They're to keep the women in. And it's sad that our popular culture has really presented the idea that prostitution is, our pop culture is full of examples like Pretty Woman, movies like that really present this very glamorous view of prostitution. That really sidesteps a lot of the human suffering involved in that. And she comes right out and details that in this book and shows that even under the best legal circumstances that prostitution is a really messed up practice. And there are no winners in that except for not even the Johns, the people running the brothels. And I think at one point she even talks about one of the brothels she went into when she said who she was, they pulled a gun out, put it to her head and cocked the hammer and said, I could kill you right now. So really much darker industry, much darker implications than I think people are willing to think about. And again, this kind of goes back to a lot of my discussions about television and pop culture that has really done a number on the public psyche about the role of prostitution in modern society and really making people think that this is kind of a non-issue. It's just a bunch of Puritans trying to shut down just people trying to make a buck. And one of the things she makes very clear here is the women who get sucked into this are living in very, very bad, desperate conditions, and these are not happy conditions. And there's also a section in here about how prostitutes are groomed and pulled into this environment. And that some of you will find really interesting. Those of you who follow Dave McGowan's work will find that interesting in that mind control is probably too strong a word for that particular application, but some of the intrigue, some of the persuasion techniques are way more advanced than you would think. It's when you see the recruiting tools and how the pimps recruit their workers is that's again intriguing from an organized crime perspective, because it is much more calculating than you would think. So anyway, if you're into this sort of thing and again interested in researching a lot of the bigger picture stuff that I'm looking at in a lot of my books, this is again an important piece of the puzzle. Not speculative at all, and it's just the dark underbelly of humanity and kind of seeing how some of this stuff actually works. So it is a dark read. It's not one that you're going to sit down. This is one of those that when I read it, I usually keep something else handy that I can kind of cleanse the palate with and swap back and forth, so I don't just go into a really dark, depressing, sad place. So anyway, Prostitution and Trafficking in Nevada, Making the Connections by Melissa Farley.